Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the Salescast Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we are on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Darrell Amy.
Hey there, everyone. This is Larry. I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude for the incredible support you've shown since Selling in a Post-Trust World book launched earlier in August. Thanks to you, Selling in a Post-Trust World is making waves and helping sales professionals everywhere build authentic relationships. If you haven't grabbed your copy yet, head over to barnesandnoble.com and order yours today. And here's a special thank you. When you leave a review of the book, we'll give you instant access to our exclusive Selling in a Post-Trust World private podcast. This 12-episode series dives deeper into each chapter, offering actionable insights to elevate your sales game. Don't miss out. Order your copy, leave a review, and unlock exclusive content designed to help you sell from the heart. For more details, go to sellinginaposttrustworld.com. Thank you. Thank you for being part of this movement. Together, we're transforming the world of sales, one authentic relationship at a time.
Hello, and welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
Hey, what isn't going on? Great seeing you. The train, the Selling from the Heart train's chugging along. You know what I'm super stoked about? We're in freaking football season, Darrell Amy. American football. I had to clarify American football.
That's right. For all our international friends, I hope your competitive juices are flowing because we've got Jake Thompson in the house today. This is going to be an incredible conversation. And Larry, I'm grateful right now. Here we are. We're in fall. We're moving. We're just knocking on the door of the last quarter of the year. And I'll tell you what, Selling from the Heart and the community of people we get to interact with online. We've developed so many different friendships inside this audience around the world. It's just such a great thing. And I just want to say thank you to everybody, especially everybody who's sharing this, because as this community continues to grow, this movement of authenticity and trust right here in this profession we all love, it continues to grow as well.
Absolutely. This whole movement was stemmed out of a podcast many, many, many years ago that turned into Selling from the Heart, the book, which turned into the movement, which now we're bringing it even more to the forefront with Selling in a Post-Trust World. Everybody, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Speaking of Selling in a Post-Trust World, it's been so fun watching the trajectory of that new book. And in case you hadn't heard, you actually can get access to a private podcast. We've created an exclusive private podcast. It has 12 episodes, and you guessed it, an episode for every chapter of the book. We take a deeper dive in. So if you want to take Selling from a Post-Trust World and put it to work for you to grow your sales as we head into the end of the year, I encourage you to go to sellinginaposttrustworld.com. Links in the show notes, and you'll have instructions there in terms of how you can get access to that podcast as a thank you for helping us spread the word on Selling in a Post-Trust World. Super, super fun. Speaking of fun, today we are thrilled to welcome Jake Thompson to the podcast studios. He's the founder and chief encouragement officer, gotta like that, at Compete Every Day, a lifestyle brand dedicated to fostering the competitive spirit and personal growth. With a great background in athletics, Jake's mission is to empower individuals and organizations to harness that competitive mindset that drives them to achieve their goals and elevate their performance. Jake discusses principles behind Compete Every Day and how adopting a competitive mindset can transform your personal and professional life. This is going to be a great discussion. Jake, welcome to Selling from the Heart. It's great to have you here.
Excited to be with you guys. The energy we had pre-show is already going to be jacked up. I don't need a coffee. I'm ready to roll.
Let's go.
Good. Well, I may need some coffee, but I'll tell you what, as we go, and maybe I don't, as we get started, Jake, you know the question every guest on the Selling from the Heart podcast answers, and that is, what does it mean to you to sell from the heart?
Yeah, for me, it's all about being authentic and investing in a long-term relationship versus a quick turn transaction.
I love it. And I love that you brought up, Jake, transaction. Here's why. Transactions are 100% replaceable. When you act like a transaction, speak like a transaction, walk like a transaction, guess what, people? You get treated like a transaction.
Absolutely. Yeah. You think about, I grew up in a small Texas town. Darrell, as we were laughing, you talked from Arkansas. I'm from not as far as I am in Dallas, but outside of Tyler. And my dad had a couple of small gas stations in our town, and I grew up working in the gas station. Gas is a transaction. You go, where's the cheapest? Where's there? Unless you have relationships, unless you're in that small town and people are going to drive extra half mile down the street, even if it's the same gas price, because there's a relationship there. There's an investment in the people and in the community. And so that was something ingrained in me from the youngest of ages of it's all about relationships and building that for a long term.
I love it. Absolutely. So true. And this is the whole ball game around creating, moving from a transactional sale to a relational sale in all of this. And one of the things that is definitely key, one of my favorite things about the sales profession is it is competitive and we've got to compete every day. I love that, Jake. What does compete every day mean to you?
Yeah, so this is a fun one I always love to dive into because most of us, when we think competition, competitiveness, it's me versus you. It's I got to beat you. I got to have more sales. I got to get the award within our company. And there's something to that. We know that other people help us to elevate our game to force us out of our comfort zone. But in reality, if we look at the definition of competition, it's striving to gain or win something. And it doesn't necessarily mean against someone else. And so for us at Compete Every Day, it's really the core principle of how are you competing every day with yourself, with your complacency, with your fears, with your doubts, with your insecurities, with the rejections you deal with, because you are the only person that you control. And if you wake up with the mentality every single day, how am I going to get better today, and take action on it, you put yourself in a different frame of mind. And as we talked about, like having those peers in the office you're competing with, you really don't put your self-worth and identity in how well did I do against them. It's all about how did I do against myself and what can I learn from them. And that's a tough thing in today's world because, as we alluded to a little bit offline, the whole comparison trap. We get caught up in, am I better than that person? That person's got 20 years on you. You should compete with them. You should step on the field with somebody more experienced, more skilled than you, but not to let your self-worth and identity and your confidence be in that, but in how well you're doing to grow and improve and how you're learning from them.
You know, I know we're going to have a great conversation around this, and I'll wave the flag on this because comparison syndrome is something that I continually suffer with. Sometimes it sticks out like a sore thumb. Sometimes, it doesn't. Where does this all start? Where's all this comparison syndrome? What's the deep root cause? What do you think, Jake?
Dude, so this goes back thousands of years, right? We think back to when we were all cavemen or lived in tribes and small communities. You had to compare yourself to make sure you were adding value within that social hierarchy. Because if you were someone that was at the bottom of the food chain within that community, you could get left. If you weren't bringing value. So it was all about, I got to bring more value. I've got to be more important. I've got to be more valuable to the group so that I'm part of the group. And so that's where a lot of it's gotten ingrained in us, is this idea of wanting to belong and fear of being out on our own. The problem we have today is we still have a lot of that mentality, even though it's not the same situation. And these little devices right here make it even more difficult because you can't help but see what everyone else is doing. Granted, we're only seeing the snapshot. And like you, I struggle with it. It's one of the reasons, like I try to be so intentional with how I use social media, with where I catch my thoughts go when I catch them comparing, because we're in the midst right now. This is one of our banner years in terms of keynotes and workshops we've been able to deliver for clients. But I have a week or 2 weeks where I'm not on the road, and I can go on LinkedIn and I can see a friend of mine that's another speaker. Oh man, I had 2 gigs this week. I feel like, man, where am I failing? Doesn't matter what I've done this year, how much farther ahead. It's like, oh, they got 2 gigs this week. I didn't have 2 gigs this week. What's wrong with me? Versus, hey, that's awesome. Good for them. What do I need to do to step my game up to keep pace with this perceived image? There's a really interesting book called Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke. And if your listeners, if nobody's read it, I highly recommend it, because what it talks about is really more than anything, outcome bias. Because, for example, we can do everything right in the sales process and not get the sale. And so we can assume something's wrong. We can also do a really poor job in the process and get the sale and start to think, well, I don't have to prepare. I don't have to wing it. I got that sale, so I can just do this to the next one. And so we have this in life. We all naturally have the outcome bias, but there's a specific stat and research study that Duke references in it in terms of comparison. And I talk about it in one of my latest books, where they interviewed all of these people and gave them the option. Would you rather go back to 1900, make, we'll say $20,000 a year where the average annual salary is $500? Or would you rather live today and make, we'll say $100,000? 70 to 75% of people said, put me in a time machine. I'll go back to 1900. Even though there's no penicillin, there's no internet, you're horse and buggy, you got world wars coming, you got the Great Depression coming, you don't have AC for those of us here in the South, like that's miserable. But more people would do it because they said I'd have more money than the people around me. I'd be better off. And that's a really tough thing to get caught up in, especially in sales, because there's so many things that are outside of our control. And we can easily allow those things to influence how well we do or how well we don't do. And so what I love is this idea of, what's your process? What are you doing to invest in relationships? What are you doing to be consistent? Things that are 100% in your control, because what we see time and time again, and Larry, I know because of the work you do, you see it. The more consistent we are with the things that matter and building the relationships with people, the better we do in the long term. And it's all about playing the long game. Relationships are a long game. Sales is really a long game, despite what we tend to think. And so the idea of getting caught up in other people's snapshots of where they are right now without realizing, yeah, they got the sale, but they kind of fell into it. Like, you can't base how hard you're working off of that. It's only, what do I need to learn and how do I get better next time?
Such a great discussion. And this topic of competition, you can see healthy competition, you can see unhealthy competition. And if you go in most sales organizations, you're going to see some unhealthy competition. And it is so easy to get sucked into that. But for a moment, let's think together here. What does healthy look like? I mean, look, we're in sales. There's a competitive part of this that's so fun. You got a background in sports. I mean, you want to win that game. In sales, we want to win the deal. There's no question about that. We're not going to win them all. But what does healthy versus unhealthy look like specifically from your perspective in the context of a sales role?
Yeah, I think from a healthy competition standpoint, it comes from the top down, because it's establishing how we communicate is a big piece of this. And here's what I mean. We always praise outcome. Mm-hmm. You got the sale. Way to go. We rarely praise process. I see you working late. I see you working the calls. I know things haven't gone your way. I like how you keep asking for one more. You keep putting in that extra work. We don't often praise the process that's 100% in people's control. And so what happens is we become solely fixated, identity worth everything on the outcome versus the learning and the growth process that makes us all better. And so from a healthy standpoint, it's learning to communicate on both ends. You need the sale, but we also need the behaviors and activities that get the sale. And we need to be consistent at those. And we know rewarded behavior is repeated behavior. And a lot of times we're not rewarding, coaching up, and focusing on that area. The other thing is make it games, right? You think about a lot of sports activities, not just the game, but like practices and things like that. Coaches tend to create games within the game. Yeah, you're the most talented player. Cool. Michael Jordan's a great example. During The Last Dance, they would put him on teams with practice squads with less talented guys to go against other starters. Why? Because we want some healthy competition. One, we want you to raise your game and those around you, but we want to put it in a fun atmosphere to where it's not, it's always the starters are always going to win. And so you look for opportunity to say, hey, how can I pair my top salespeople versus someone else, maybe in the middle? And let's have a fun inter-office competition between these people over here versus always every man for himself. One of the organizations I saw a couple of years ago did this. They would split up into teams each quarter. And then the teams would get shuffled around based on how well they did. And each team had their sales manager coach. And so they would all pit up and they would have, hey, how many leads did you take? How many did you close? What was the total revenue? And so there are different ways to win the prize. And so even if you were like right here and you're like, man, there's no way I'm going to get top sales revenue, the deals I'm closing are smaller deals. Can I close more deals? Can I have the most transactions? So what they did is they looked for opportunities to not only praise process, but to create some inner dynamics to where it's not always just, did you get the sale? You're the top performer. It's how do we work more collaboratively as a team within that context? I'd be curious what you guys have seen as well.
Jake, here's what's interesting about it. And I just got to tie in sports because I know you're a sports. We're all sports junkies on, having this conversation together. You see this so well done in professional sports. Insert whatever professional sports, you're going to see this coach up mentality. Hey, you had a bad day. We're going to coach you up on all this. But yet you don't see it that often in sales. Oh. And unfortunately, that's where the magic happens. And, if somebody's having a bad day, bad week, bad month, bad quarter, the first thing that everyone goes to is the PIP word, right? Yep. We got to put this person on, performance improvement as opposed to finding out what the root cause is and coaching up from there. This is what happens in sports. This is what I'm a diehard Los Angeles Rams fan. I'm just going to throw it out there. I think Sean McVay, regardless if you like the Rams or not, Sean McVay is the classic coach up, get in the trenches, find out what's working, what's not working. If more sales managers and sales leaders did out their salespeople, a lot more would be exceeding their budget and their quota.
Yeah, without a doubt. I've got a friend who does some speaking in the sales space, and he like I've trained at the same mental performance coach. And it was really funny because he'll open one of his keynotes and ask, what are skills or what are things that make people great at sales? And people talk about, being able to build rapport and confidence and, mental toughness to handle things. And he'll ask all of these things and say, cool, how often are we training those? Like we're training how to pick up the phone and make the call. How often are we training how to improve your mental toughness or your resilience? Or how to, when you get done, you knock door to door, you have a bad deal or a bad conversation, or you can't get in touch with somebody. How do you be able to reset before you walk into the next conversation so that one negative doesn't turn into two, but you can start over again at zero? And to your point, it's we focus so much on the tactics, not necessarily the person and the skill set behind it. But what you find is in great organizations, sports and life, the better we help people become better people, the better work they end up doing, which always goes back to, we talked about this at the beginning, selling from the heart, relationships. It's all about investing in the relationship because as a sales manager and leader, you're essentially having to coach up and sell your team member why it's worth making the investment to grow.
Oh man, so spot on. And as sales professionals, I think the sales role, we're the athletes of the corporate world, right? Yeah. We're the ones that get out and get it done. And our mindset, especially around this topic of resilience, which I want to take a deeper dive into, I think is so important because in sales, look, it's a game where we get knocked down all the time out, in the field. Just the reality of the game. And, sadly, we get knocked down in the office sometimes, especially when we're in that unhealthy competition. So resilience, I think, is one of the most, if not the most important skill when it comes to sales. You're right. We don't coach on it enough, or if at all. So give us some guidance here for our sales professionals listening in, and even some of our sales leaders. What can we do to up our game in the area of resilience?
Yeah, the one thing I'll tell you is kind of like confidence and a lot of other skills, you can't manufacture it out of air. So what you have to do is start putting yourself in a position to struggle and respond. That could be something as simple as taking up a new workout routine, joining a gym or something new where you're not that good at it, and learning to work through failure. It could be the idea of putting yourself in a position at work where you're not 100% confident and ready, and starting to do the things and learn through it. I think resilience is one of those things. People like you have it or you don't, right? It's kind of like grit. You have it or you don't. Mental toughness. It's not that way. We build all of them. So from a resilient standpoint, a few things I think are really important. One, the bigger picture, right? You had a bad day. It's not a bad year. right? You had a bad meeting. It's not a bad day. So having the context of what is the bigger picture, and then also being able to look at your day, especially those tough days, in quarters, right? Morning, lunch, afternoon, and night. You lost the morning. How can you win lunch, the afternoon, and night? You lost the morning and afternoon. How do you make sure you win lunch and in the evening? Like, what are those targets that are going to help you? Because what that's going to allow you to do is not completely chalk up the entire day to a loss, but have mini bounce backs, which that's going to help strengthen over time that ability to bounce back. I think having and creating a routine to reset, whether that's for some guys, we had a habit of like, you got off a bad call, you get up out of your desk and just take a lap. Just take a lap around the office, take a lap around the room, do something before you sit back down on that next one. It's not just one to the next to the next. It's reset. Reset after a great call. Take that energy, but bring it into the next call, because what you don't want to do is the up and down all day, right? Had a really good call, had a really bad call, really good call, really bad call. Or you have a really bad call and you go into the next call automatically having the assumption this is going to be a bad call. So you tone how you answer questions, everything starts to go down and your opportunity starts to drop before they ever get the first word out of your first question, because you've already kind of come in like self-defeated. So having that routine to reset. So big picture, right? Mini picture within the day, having a routine to reset is a big one. And then honestly, this is where I think the sales leaders and managers can come in really effectively from a little bit of vulnerability standpoint in that relationship, to share experiences where they've struggled. Hey, this is when I was in that spot. I struggled with this too. Here's something I learned. Here's something I did. Hey, just understand this is 100% natural. Especially you see this when somebody starts their career and they come out of the gate hot and they have a lot of early success, and then reality hits in and they don't have as much success and they start to question themselves. All of those things are an opportunity to say, hey, listen, this is natural. Like your start was not natural. Like you had a lot more success than most people do at the beginning. This is where the separation comes in from the people who want it and from the people who don't. And here's something I learned in my time. And so that's a really good piece for coaching others up to be vulnerable in that, because you're going to help them be resilient by helping them see this is normal. This is something you can navigate. I've gone through this, because they're automatically going to look at us because we're in a higher role. They report to us as if we have more figured out. And so by us sharing, going through those same struggles, it's going to allow them to shift their perspective as well to see, okay, if they got through this, hopefully I can too, or maybe I can too, or yes, I can too.
Hey, Jake, I want to continue down this road.
Yeah.
Why do you think, I'm just going to throw the why question at you though, is why do you think people struggle so much with resiliency?
I think it's because we haven't had enough experience doing it. And I hate to say that, I'm going to sound like the old guy screaming, get off my lawn. But I think we've created so much of a culture of if you fail, what means you're not a fit for it? Or if you aren't perfect from the get-go, maybe you should do something else. Or if you didn't win the starting position in year one as a freshman, you should leave the school. Like that's kind of this culture. And we see it in sports. Like that's my biggest fear of what we're going to see with a lot of athletes coming into the professional world now and even for the near foreseeable future, is because we have a lot of, oh, well, Johnny didn't get to play as much as I wanted him to on this team. And instead of working to get better and earn the starting lineup, I'm going to move him schools, or Johnny's going to switch schools, right? Yeah. We see that in all areas, not just athletics, but athletics is kind of, we're running that chain. And so we haven't had to practice resilience and facing either not getting our way or facing failure. And we have this very skewed perspective because of social media, even more so, that success is quick, it's easy, it should happen fast for you because so-and-so made all this money overnight, without realizing they are the 0.001%, assuming it's real, versus everything else. Whereas resilience is built in struggle. It's built in tough times. There's a really good book, regardless of how you feel about the individual, because I know when he went into politics, it kind of skewed folks. But Eric Greitens is a former Navy SEAL, and he wrote a book called Resilience that was essentially letters to one of his fellow SEALs that was going through alcoholism and depression and things. And the whole book is a series of letters of like, you've had resilience in other areas, let's have resilience here. Mm-hmm. Or the only way to build it is to go through struggles. And so we've just bought into this idea overall that the struggle is not part of the journey. And if it is, you're on the wrong journey, versus like everyone struggles in sales. Everyone, even the people that have their best years, have stretches of struggle. There's not a keynote speaker I've talked to that's never finished a gig, looked at their books and not really had one set up for a little while and thought, was that my last talk? Was that it? No, you're just back working the process. You work the process. Bill Walsh said it best. You win your championships in practice. You just pick them up on game day. And so it all goes back to how do you work the process? But we've become so accustomed to it easy or quick. And maybe that's Amazon, maybe that's sports parenting, maybe whatever that is. But I think that's a lot of it. We haven't had to have that same level of resilience. I'd also say, Larry, I know you're just a tiny bit older than me, not much, but the generation even before us, like there was a fear of you were getting sent off to war. Like my dad's talked to me about like the draft and like, worry if you're going to get drafted to Vietnam. Like my generation's had none of that. Like we've never had a fear that we were going to get drafted and sent off unless you volunteered. So there's never been this overwhelming struggle in some of those areas. There are hardships. People have hardships all the time, but it's not kind of generationally to where like we got to buckle down and be able to handle anything that comes our way as they had in some older generations. And there's pros and cons of that. But I think there's so many factors that have come in from the resilient standpoint, between technology, between culturally, that have made us generally weaker in the areas of resilience, grit, and mental toughness, which is why I tell people all the time, like, if you just are consistent with the basics and work the process, like you're going to put yourself in such a better position than most people. And what you find is it's far less crowded on the path to success than you think it is, because most people are inconsistent or give up as soon as it gets hard.
Amen.
Wow.
Soapbox, I know.
That is so good. What a great conversation. And I know as we're wrapping this up, our listeners are going, man, how can I get more Jake Thompson in my life? This is awesome.
Appreciate it. Yeah, the best way to connect with me, social, I'm always on LinkedIn or Instagram. Jake Thompson Speaks is it. And then my website, jakeathompson.com. You can find everything else about my programs and books, and would love to connect. And honestly, guys, we could jam all day because I could talk competition and all of the resilience, you name it, because for me, courage and resilience are required to compete and they're required to lead. And so you got to have both and be willing to build both.
This is good stuff. Hey, by the way, Jake, you're welcome back anytime. You got an easy pass to the front of the line, dude.
Let's do this. Right. We'll do this.
Awesome. Jake, thanks for investing in us today. You're a true Selling from the Heart champion. We appreciate you, man.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
All right. Take care, Jake.
Awesome. Powerful stuff there, Larry.
You know what? Resilience, comparison. Let's just face it. And I write about this in Selling from the Heart, Darrell. Sales is a full contact sport.
Yep.
You're going to get knocked down, but you got to pick yourself back up. And the biggest thing I just encourage is the more you work on yourself, the better you will become. And I'll be the first one to admit this. I've worked harder on myself at my stage of the game than I ever did in my 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Yep. And what Jake was saying right at the end, this combination of resilience and courage, we all know comes from the heart. And, I full transparency, I had a deal earlier today start to go sideways on me. It was a big deal. I thought I had it. I thought it was a done deal. And I'll tell you what, we talk about this being a mental game, but I'll tell you where it got me right in the heart. Right. And so this resilience and the courage to get back up again and the things that Jake talked about, having a plan in place, because you know you're going to need it. I would just want to say one of the things I'm going to adopt from this, and there's a lot of different things I want to take away from this conversation. I love the concept of the 4 quarters in the day, winning for me, like the morning routine, and then the morning and the afternoon and the evening, and looking at those. I love that. I think that's powerful. So much great stuff. You're probably going to want to rewind this episode. Hey, I've been telling you, we've got great guests coming on Selling from the Heart, and just wait till you hear who we've got coming up this fall. You're going to want to make sure to like or subscribe on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who watches us on YouTube. We're just having a blast. This is an incredible season ahead for Selling from the Heart. And our commitment to you is to keep the fire going here in the fourth quarter of 2024. And we're going to accelerate into the new year. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. There's 4 quarters to a year. There's
That's
4 quarters, right? You may not have hit it on one quarter, but you got other quarters to make up for it. Learn how to win the quarter.
That's
win the
right.
Day, win the month, win the week.
I love it.
Double down on this. Watch what starts to happen. Be consistent and hold yourself radically disciplined to make sure that it happens.
Huge thank you to everybody who's liking and leaving reviews. It helps us spread this movement of authenticity right here in the sales profession we all love. Till next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust, compete every day, and most of all,
sell from the heart.